over 9 billion people by 2050, with less than 1% of the population being involved directly with farming, more and more people are becoming separated from the farm. That disconnect with the consumer and the producer is even larger than ever. Being able to communicate, engage, and educate others is vital. But in order to do that, we must educate our youth about agriculture. I see a lot of people out here today, and I know that each of you guys are leaders in this community because somewhere along the line, someone believed in you. Someone helped you and someone pushed you to become better and become a leader. But now it's our time. Now it's our time to be that person for someone else. To be that person for the kids in the blue jacket. To be able to push them and to motivate them to make an impact. Because youth is the future of this agriculture industry. In order to make sure this industry continues to grow and continues to thrive, we must have youth involved in agriculture.
But I want to just mention something about EPA. It was brought up earlier. Sometimes some of the regulations that the EPA comes up with, I don't know where they get them. You know, it's a group back east, I guess, that really doesn't keep in touch with us out here and everything. One of the issues that you've heard a lot about is coal burning. You know, they're trying to cut down on the amount of coal that we can use because of the sulfur in emitted into the air. There's a lot of controversy about, is it really a true figure that they're putting out there? And I want to tie it to something I'm just going to tell you about. I have a very good interest to corn growers right in central Missouri. But before I get to that, you know, we've had a lot of regulations, as I said, on coal. Another issue that you might have heard about here recently is the EPA is trying to shut down wood stove manufacturers in the United States. And you go, what in the world? You know, I heard some figures that, you know, we got all these forest fires out in California. I don't know how they're going to put regulations on the forest fires, you know. But basically what they're doing, if they have their way within the next year, there will not be any more wood stove manufacturers in the United States. So where do you go? So, well, by golly, you know, I don't know way down the road, I'll just make my own, you know, but you know, that's not real feasible and everything. But the bottom line issue on this thing is that once they do that, it is predicted that they want to put monitors on your stoves and on fireplaces to regulate the amount of emissions that you're putting into the air. And will determine whether you can or should burn wood. Now there are, I think it's either 5 or 7 states in the United States that's already asking the EPA to put these regulations on. Now, you pretty well know what those states are. It's probably, you know, either the East Coast or the West Coast states that they don't burn wood. So they think, well, you know, all this wood burning out there, let's do away with that. What we need to do is get that stopped. Now, Tim Rimley is also a House member that over around the Moberly-Macon area, and he has sponsored a bill, which I co-sponsored, and it has gone through a committee and is about ready to be heard on the House floor. And they even commissioned him, and he went back to Boston, Massachusetts 2 weeks ago and testified before an EPA hearing, and boy, they were surprised to see him. Missouri is the first state that has started to run a bill through the House and through the Senate to make it a law that gives us the right to burn wood in our homes and our farms and businesses and wherever. So I don't think we're going to get a lot of opposition to this bill. I think it should pass, but you might be watching for it. Chances are we're going to see a decrease in the amount of coal that they're going to allow some of these places to burn. Now, there is a company that I've heard about or talked with at the house that has been doing research for about the last 5 years, and they have got the go-ahead now to use biomass products. You've all heard about that probably multiple times, but this company has engineered this product to be put together and be sold to some of these coal-burning municipalities in different places, possibly even up at Thomas Hill. And what it involves, mainly it will use just about any type of biomass product, wood particles, sawdust, but the main one, now listen to this, the main one is corn stalks. And basically what it amounts to, this has already been approved. This company has already got contracts to manufacture this product. Now, just basically penciling this thing out, it depends on the year. I know on a dry year, corn stalks have been rolled up and been used for cattle forage and everything. But if you go in and cut all this off, it's been estimated that depending on the year, that you can get 4 to 7 tons of corn stalks per acre off of this ground. And basically what we're going to be doing is be buying this product for around $40, $42 a ton. Now I got my pencil out and said, all right, what's it cost to, go in and mow it all, roll it up, get it on a semi and get it to the plant. And of course the plant freight to there is going to depend on how far it is. But basically, in a nutshell, it's going to be about $8 to $10 per bale profit after all the expense of doing it. And basically, if you can get an average of 5 to 7 bales per acre, that's going to be somewhere around maybe $40 to $60 additional value to you as a corn grower if you want to take that off of your field.
And we've got to keep telling them. And FFA is very important in the process, and maybe we're going to talk about that a little bit. We've got our biggest challenge, I think, in the world today is to overcome this belief that food comes from the grocery store. And we start with you. That's where it all begins. Where do they get their food? They go down to the convenience store, the grocery store, and grab something, pay for it. We've got to educate people about the whole process. It doesn't just arrive someday and show up in a refrigerated case or on a shelf.
This past year, we had one big bill that we worked on. It's called Senate Bill 9 to help extension. And I think a lot of you know the importance of extension across the state. And then they tacked on some stuff that dealt with animal abuse and neglect, things that the Missouri Cattlemen really wanted on the bill. We thought it was a great piece of legislation, and the governor vetoed it. And so when we went back to veto session last year, it took a lot of people to override the governor's veto. And guess what? We were successful. We overrode the governor's veto, the first agriculture bill that was ever overridden in a veto session. Isn't that great? And it was really good. Thank you. I really appreciate a lot of your support. What it did was just provide some common sense language when it came time to livestock being out of their confines. It happens. When you produce livestock, when you have cattle, sometimes they get loose. And sometimes our city neighbors, they want to call the sheriff, they want to say it's abuse, they want to put you out of business, quite honestly. So what we did, through the help of the House, through Dean Dorman and Dave Munzel over there, we were able to override that veto and put some common sense legislation to protect primarily our livestock producers in the state of Missouri. It was an honor, and I've got a bill, Senate Bill 9, on my wall in the office. It's got a big stamp that says vetoed, and then it's got a bigger stamp that says overridden. Isn't that cool? So I keep it there, and if the governor ever comes to my office, I'll be sure and show him. So I'll be sure to show him. Well, in closing, let me just say that I believe in the future of farming. With a faith born not of words but of deeds, achievements won by the past and present generations of agriculturists, and the promise of better days through better ways, even as the better things we now enjoy have come to us from the struggles of former years. Now, you guys in blue and gold jacket know what I just said. It's part of the FFA 3. And FFA, 4-H, all sorts of agricultural organizations are so important. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for being here, and thank you, KMMO, for supporting
I was
this.
going to give you just a brief overview about the Missouri Department of Agriculture. We are made up of 5 divisions. A lot of the things that we do in the department are consumer protection and a little bit of regulatory stuff, but we do have a lot of activities in the department. I see that Saline County native is here in the audience. Also, your Missouri State Fair Director, Mark Wolf. Mark and I talked on the phone this morning, and he said he might come up and throw things, but he's far enough away from the podium. I hope his aim's not very good. As we look at what we are as citizens of Missouri, the activities of the Missouri Department of Agriculture actually touch Missourians every day from a consumer protection standpoint, whether it's how much gas you're getting in your car tank, how much diesel fuel you're putting in your tank, to the quality of that, meat inspections, milk inspections, and various other activities. One of the divisions that we have at the Department of Agriculture is our Agriculture Business Development, and that is the division in the department that we can really put our fingerprint on how successful we are in agriculture here in Missouri. That's where a lot of our promotional work is done. That's where we generate ideas about value-added products. That's a lot of activities that take place in the agriculture business development is where we can really make an impact, and that's going to be a priority of our department is to shore up that division and continue to do some good things for agriculture in Missouri, all across commodities, all across value-added activities, whether it's international marketing, whether it's value-added, or what the case may be. When the governor asked me if I would do this job, I said absolutely, and we had an opportunity to visit about what the priorities of our department would be. And 3 things kind of came out of that discussion, and obviously one is continue to maintain and improve our exports, either from a commodity standpoint or a value-added standpoint. And that goes across all commodities, whether you talk about the diversity of the state, whether it's cotton or rice in the southeast part of the state, or more of our Midwestern type agriculture like we have here in Saline County, to livestock exports. So improving exports and maintaining and improving those export numbers is certainly critical to the department. The second thing would be value added, and we know in agriculture that we produce commodities, and the way that we can be more profitable and more impactful in our market is to add value to those. And there's a number of ways we do that. Obviously, the ethanol and biodiesel plants in the state have done that and have done that really well. But there's also other opportunities, whether it's in the livestock sector, other commodities. Those are things that we can have an impact on. And so increase our value-added opportunities in the state of Missouri and for agriculture. And finally, the third thing that we wanted to really put an emphasis on, and I'm glad to see we've got a lot of FFA kids here today, and that is the department's engagement in getting young people involved in agriculture and maintaining their interest in agriculture. And that's really for a number of reasons, really. I come from a farm. The governor asked me to do this. He appointed me on December 19th. On December 18th, I was a full-time farmer. I tell people that on December 18th, I had calluses on my hands. Now I have calluses on my neck, because this is how I dress usually every day, which is a little bit of a departure from wearing Carhartt every day. But as an agricultural community and agricultural society, look at the rest of Missouri and look at the rest of the United States, we are becoming more and more of a minority. And as we look at that, more folks that we have engagement with, whether it's consumers, whether it's policymakers, and I'm not talking about the policymakers that are here today, those guys are all fantastic legislators, but we are more and more generations removed from the farm. And so when you hear about even young adults, to have them engaged in some sort of a dialogue, some sort of an education about agriculture. And, I suppose part of that reason is to get young people involved in careers in agriculture. Production agriculture, certainly that's a difficult field to get into if you're not already involved in it, due obviously, number one, to the capital investment that it takes, but just the availability of opportunities. But there are a lot of opportunities, career opportunities in agriculture. There was just an announcement this morning, actually, that a lot of our plant science companies here in the state, whether it's Pioneer, whether it's Monsanto, Syngenta, have announced that they want to have over 1,000 research scientists added to their army of scientists just here in Missouri by the year 2015. Those are high-paying jobs, those are high-tech jobs, and those are directly involved in agriculture. So there are a number of employment opportunities, career opportunities in agriculture without actually being involved in production agriculture. But I think the biggest thing that is important when we talk about getting young people involved in agriculture, and if you come to a community like Marshall, I don't know how big the FFA chapter is here. I'm fairly certain it's large. But when we talk about that involvement, when you have situations like the Chipotle Mexican Grill, who about a month ago announced they had a little production on the web. It was called Farmed and Dangerous. And basically it was an attack on modern agricultural practices. And most of it is false and misleading. And if we can get involved with youth in agriculture early on, whether they go into production agriculture, whether they ultimately find a career in agriculture, they will have a basic knowledge. They will have an understanding of what agriculture is about, how we do things, from an animal care standpoint, from protecting natural resources, soil conservation, those types of things. And they'll say, well, you know what, that message is wrong. What they're saying is wrong. And with social media so prevalent today, anybody, anywhere can get on social media and start talking about agriculture. And most of those folks don't know what they're talking about, frankly. So it's important that we engage kids younger and stay involved with them longer. I was in FFA when I was in high school, and that's kind of when I got my start in being involved in organizations and volunteering my time, and I don't want to just continue to talk about FFA. There's 4-H, there's young farmers, there's a number of other opportunities for folks to be involved, and so the message is kind of to the kids here in Blue Jackets to stay involved in your FFA chapter, stay involved in agricultural education, stay involved in your community, but it's also to the adults who frankly, you all need to encourage them to stay involved. You need to work with them. A lot of the kids that are in our vocational ag classes and ag education probably don't come from a farm, and so they need some encouragement. They need some opportunities to be engaged. I've been involved in the soybean checkoff for probably 20-some years. I was on the Missouri Soybean Merchandising Council for 12, and I currently am still on the United Soybean Board, and I've been on there 9 years, and so there was a break in between, so I've been involved in the checkoff for a long time, Farm Bureau for a long time, and I think that, one of the reasons that I was asked to do this job was my involvement in agriculture, practical knowledge of agriculture, but I got that by that basic knowledge that I got when I was in school. But then I would challenge us all to do this as well. I had a hard time not raising my hand and saying, yeah, I'll do that. Or, there's an opportunity to go talk to the Rotary. And, the Rotary always has an ag day, and Kiwanis always has an ag day. There's always something going on. And I had a hard time not saying, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Well, my dad is retired from the farm, and it's my wife and I now that run the farm. And my dad would always get he'd always get a little frustrated with me being gone quite a bit. But those are the kind of things that that we need to do in agriculture is, I'm glad we've got a good crowd here today, and I enjoy these kind of events. I mean, it's a lot of fun talking to farmers and the things that are going on. But we need to, as practical folks in agriculture, we need to raise our hand and say, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll go talk to that group, or I'll write a letter to the editor of the paper. I'll be involved, I'll be engaged, because I'm telling you folks, if we don't, number one, encourage our youth to get involved and stay involved and learn and be educated about agriculture, and if we don't, as agriculture, tell our story in an accurate manner and talk about the issues that people have concerns about, and be truthful and be honest and be upfront about that, then we are going to lose the battle when it comes to folks accepting what we do and this misconception by consumers that a lot of the things that we do are not right. So it's imperative that we engage in the conversation, and I guess that's my main message today, is that, and it doesn't have to be anything big, and it doesn't have to be fancy, and it doesn't have to be polished or professional. Just tell your story the way you would tell your story, because that's very important. As in agriculture, I actually had an opportunity. Senator Pierce is here, and once you're appointed by the governor to a cabinet level position, or really any gubernatorial appointment, you must be confirmed by the Senate. And so I thought it would be a good idea to go around and see all, we have 34 senators in Missouri. At the time there was a vacancy, so there were 33. And I made a point to go around and see all 33 senators, introduce myself, the folks that I already knew. For example, Senator Pierce, our conversation was pretty short. He said, good to see you, glad you're here. You have my support, those kind of comments. But there were other senators that I didn't know, folks from more of an urban district, and I went in to talk to them, introduce myself and talk to them about agriculture. And I went in to a couple of two different times, I went into urban senators' offices to introduce myself and talk about agriculture, and they said, well, Director, we don't have any agriculture in our district. And I said, well, you may not think so, that you do have, but you actually do. And even in the urban districts, there's a lot of agricultural activity. But I said, you have agriculture in your district 3 times a day. And that's who we work for, really, are the consumer. Ultimately, when someone's going through the grocery store shelves, or someone pulls up to the gas pump to put some ethanol in their car, or they pull up and put biodiesel in their truck, or their car, now I guess, that's who we work for. And there's a lot of niche markets. We grew food grade soybeans for export to Taiwan. I know there's some non-GM corn, there's white corn, there's a lot of opportunities. We're growing those for a market. I mean, that's why we're doing it. And so if our consuming public have questions or concerns, it's kind of our responsibility to tell them how it is. So, again, don't be afraid to raise your hand. Don't be afraid to be a part of the conversation. And again, it doesn't have to be professional. It doesn't have to be polished. It's just you telling your story the way you do it. And I'm confident as we move forward in this debate, and I'm not sure that it resolves itself real quickly or there's an easy resolution to it, because food is so complicated. But just as we move forward, if we work together and we tell our story, I know that ultimately agriculture is going to be in a good place. And again, it's great to be up here as your Director of Agriculture. I've been a farmer all my life. This job it can be a little challenging, but it's an awful lot of fun. And I can't think, other than actually producing the food, fuel, and fiber for this country, I can't think of a job other than this one that I would enjoy more doing. So with that, I will sit down and I would entertain questions if anybody had any. And again, thanks to Brian and KMMO Radio.